For my final exam for English 112, I chose to do my essay on human trafficking. Human trafficking is the most common form of labor and sex trafficking. It's a modern-day slavery, and it's the most profitable criminal industry in the world. So human trafficking is mostly focused on younger children and women and young girls from the ages 6 to 24. Traffickers tend to get their victims into situations where they can easily access them and take them and profit off of them. It's one of the most dangerous crimes in the world. A wide range of legal and illegal business settings are used to take these victims from sex industry, agricultural factories, hotels, restaurants, domestic workers, and marriage brokers, and some adoption agencies are used as access to get to these children. It mostly involves women and younger girls. In most cases, victims are coaxed by advertisements, they're even kidnapped, or even bought by their own family. In most cases, it's likely due to a lack of education or from communities with a high poverty rate. These victims don't completely understand what's going on, and they'll most likely have to work in different situations, and families will sell their children to make a profit. They're brought into horrible conditions, and they're very dangerous environments for these victims. Some victims do physical labor, and they're brought into sex trade as well. Each victim is affected differently, and the psychological impact it has on them is extremely profound. It impacts them for the rest of their life. It is said that they develop deep psychological disorders that they struggle with for the rest of their lives, and even when they're rescued, they can't necessarily bring themselves back into society because of the trauma that they have gone through. So when victims are usually rescued or brought back into society, law enforcement in the United States or all over the world will bring them back in, but mostly in the United States, they bring them back in, and they can't necessarily do anything with them. They can bring them in for questioning and anything that could help them solve cases, but most likely they'll turn them into the Department of Juvenile Justice. They have to place them in that. It's for victims, it's designated as a safe haven. Other places like safe homes are designated as a safe haven for those children, but most likely most victims are not able to access those. But for the Department of Juvenile Justice, they'll bring them in, they'll question them, and they can't necessarily put them in foster care or group homes because of the psychological impact that they've inflicted, that they've had done to them. They don't like to put them in the juvenile justice system, because they are victims, not criminals. So they try their best, but unfortunately the system is not that great, and victims don't get the psychological help that they need that can help them improve on their lives and bring them back into society. It's so horrible for so many victims, and the people that are involved, it's so hard to catch them. So law enforcement tries their best to find the trackers, but by the time that they go through the jurisdiction laws with state, federal, and international laws, the case is most likely too far gone for them to actually solve the case and to help find the victims, because victims are traded from each trafficker, continuously always profiting off money. There's too many people involved, so it's so hard to catch them, and it's so hard to prosecute them. So, like previously mentioned, these crimes most likely take place in areas with high poverty, high crime rate, and countries that don't have strict child labor laws. So which allows them more access to get to children from their work sites, or to manipulate them into doing what they want. So money plays a big role in human trafficking. Most of the main goal is money. Other traffickers have their own reasons. Most is money. The other is their own needs and like what they want out of human trafficking. So there aren't many perspectives of the actual traffickers, but there are perspectives of different workers, victims, and their stories and what the physical and psychological toll it takes on them. So there are organizations throughout the world that can help with these victims and their needs to have the support and help that they need. Most organizations work throughout the world, but some countries don't allow them due to their government and their strict laws. Human trafficking is all over the world. It's so hard to stop them. It happens every day. There are some things that you can do to help, like noticing situations, contacting a person of authority, volunteering, and anything else that you think can happen. The concerns of human trafficking need to be taken globally, and countries need to work together to help save these victims, to escape and to get back into society, and they also, when they come out, to have the psychological help that they need to get back into society and to have the help and support that they need.